Hello and welcome to Geoscope here on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined, as nearly always, by Ollie Bowler Hatman. How you doing, Ollie?
I'm all right, thank you.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, better than last week.
Oh, hello.
I was. Oh,
What happened last
I've
week?
have so weird like hay fever. Honestly, I get it like once every couple of years.
Is
It's
that
one of
like
those things
is
like
that like
you get
night fever? Do you like feel the need to dance?
possibly,
Is that how it works?
but it's
I don't
like
know.
every like 5 years or so, I
Yeah.
get absolutely rammed by it.
Ooh, heck.
And if you know Sheffield, when you come up from the Sheffield like train station up into the city, there's
Yeah.
this point where these trees hanging over you, and I was walking up there, and honestly, I went from like breathing normally to like
Yeah.
just going, just like,
It's because all the trees are male trees, isn't it?
well, I
when
hope they're
when
not
they
all of them, but
replaced all the trees that died in the 80s from Dutch elm disease and mad cow disease, they replaced them with male trees because they didn't want any of the fruits of the trees landing on the ground, people slipping on the fruit and then suing the council. So all of the municipal trees are male,
uh,
and as males tend to do, they produce more pollen each year because they feel like they're not pollinating anything. Somehow they know that, so they just keep more and more going further and further, and that's why your allergies are getting worse.
yeah,
It's all the
I
fault
was
of
just
town
like,
planners, as are most things in life.
yeah.
Right?
And the thing is, I walked into that meeting and I was
Yeah,
literally, I was at
streaming.
some points like just weeping. And I was like, you sure you want to continue? Yeah, I'm fine.
It's a nightmare. Right, so the secret is more female trees, please. Okay, so big shout out to Joanna Hammond in the chat. We've also got Diz in the chat as well, and Pete's Music, Dog 4x4, Billy Kershaw. We've got Bowler Hatman, whoever that is, who just says soon. Sarah Davis in the chat. Hi, Sarah. And SG and Chris C and others. Kate Smith is in there. Hello, everyone. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat, all you need to do, make some new friends, hit the subscribe button, and wait for 1 minute. And you can join us as we talk about that meeting that just happened with Trump and Carney, which was just absolute carnage. It was so embarrassing. I mean, it made me cringe so bad. I put me back out now.
What
Gonna have to
was
go to
what
the
was your
doctors.
favorite moment?
My favourite moment was the bit where, right, so one of the stupid reporters, so the people in the press pool are only people like handpicked by Trump now. And there was like a clamour every time they got to ask a question. Everyone was like, wah, 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 and then someone it's like something from the 1950s, like screwball comedy. Wah, 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 and then someone goes, so what do you think of this whole 51st state thing then, eh? And Mark Carney said, it'll never happen. And Trump goes, oh, never say never. And Mark Carney's like,
Yeah, honestly, my favorite part was like there was a part very very early on, and Trump goes, "Oh, but we do like Canada's is like very little business with us, and you're like Mark, and even Mark Carney just literally just goes like that in like the most dramatic way. In fact, all of his reactions throughout that entire interview were just priceless. He was rolling his eyes. He was like going like that from time to time, or like that. And every so often, it's just like Mark Carney is a smart guy.
yeah,
Like he generally is. Like he
yeah, he
was
is.
like governor of sort of the Canadian Bank through the 2008 financial crisis. So he took Canada's economy through that.
Yeah,
He was governor for the Bank of England, which,
yep.
bear in mind, George Osborne chased Mark Carney halfway around the world to get him to take on that position.
Yep. And
Like,
he was absolutely necessary because if he hadn't
yeah,
been the governor of the Bank of England at that point,
yeah,
Brexit would have sunk us.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he went through Brexit as well with us. Yeah, that is like an incredibly smart guy. And one of the things I posted as well, he immediately after he won the election, like the next day, does this big like hour and a half broadcast to Canada and basically goes, right, this is what we're gonna do. Bang, 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 bang. This is why we're doing it. And it's just like, I'd love politicians to do that more. Like, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it.
Yes.
Because you very often get, this is what we're doing. And it's like, and then people don't understand the why. And I think if more people understood the why, I think we'd have a lot more better political engagement.
Yeah.
I think people would be a lot more like talk a lot more about politics. I think in that case,
Trump
or
was
be interested in learning about politics.
Yeah. Trump was banging on about bloody the weapons that they give to Canada. You know, like they just give them benevolent. They just say, "Oh, you got. Do you know what? We've got all these
you buy
rockets
so many
left
weapons
over, so we just let you have them." Bullshit. They charge them for it. The Canada buys those weapons from America.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you should be grateful buying all that stuff." Imagine if the supermarket manager turned up at your house and started saying, "You should be grateful for all the stuff you buy from my firm." I'm like, I could go to Tesco.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That was what it really felt like. Really felt like
I could get it somewhere else. But you should be grateful. But Carney didn't take Trump's bait. Obviously, you know, he
was smart.
Seen what happened with Zelensky.
Yeah, I was expecting that. That's what I was expecting.
That's what Trump was expecting as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, was he like trying to bait him into like saying stuff? And I think Carney was smart not falling for some of the stuff, because some of the questions, like, you know, the 51st state one, that was like probably the most obvious one.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it was a trap.
It's a trap. Can't be having that. But
Revenge of the 6th today.
It is Revenge of the 6th. You can have Revenge of the 5th as well.
Yeah.
It just keeps going, doesn't it? But yes, Kate, where was it? Kate was at dialysis now. The blast was nice. Taking my shiny Triumph out tomorrow. Ooh, that sounds cool. Is it a motorbike or is it a car, your Triumph? Tell me about your shiny Triumph. Yvonne says Starmer should do that when he came into power last summer, but he didn't. Yeah. He should do it now. So I was watching Too Long Didn't Read, TLDR News the other day. It's a really, really good channel. If you're not already subscribed to them, I think they do really good stuff. They're quite impartial. I mean, I say quite, but you can tell they're a little bit on our side. I get the impression. And they did one about Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, whose approval rating at the moment is like...
Oh, it's through the roof.
It's like 81%, mate. She's the most popular politician in the world right now, apart from, like, you know, obviously Putin and Kim Jong-un, you know, the ones that...
the
ones that you can't
really
trust.
popular ones.
The really popular
popular
ones.
table, and then there's the really popular table.
But they were talking about all the different reasons why she's popular, and obviously bringing up the minimum wage, going to war with the cartels and all that kind of stuff. It's been really popular. But the last one was brilliant. She does a fucking chat every day, every morning, like I do my morning show. She does that, and she talks to the assembled people and the
it's one of the things Zelensky does as well.
Yeah, every day. And so what that happens is she shapes the narrative in Mexican politics, because every day she gets up and goes, right, that's what we're going to talk about today. And there's no opportunity for bollock-faced gobshites like Nigel Farage to turn up and dictate with his, 1% of fucking MPs to dictate what the agenda's going to be each day. And I'm like, Labour, do this. Yeah. I want Clive Lewis and Jess Phillips. They're my picks.
Yeah.
They should have red couch, and they're sitting on the red couch in the morning saying,
honestly,
hello, welcome to Labour today.
I don't know if they would be able to get away with it or not. I really do feel that the Labour Party should do a weekly podcast.
Yes.
I absolutely feel
I told them they should. I met up with them a couple of times now and given them some advice on the YouTube channel, and they're just like, okay, that's nice, Graham, bye. Yeah. Yes, father. So yeah, it's not great, is it? It's not great. Have you seen my video of me going to the Star Wars Episode 3 premiere? I
I'm
only
not
posted
sure
it last
actually. I
week.
think this one where you snuck
Oh
in.
man. Well, no, I snuck a camera in.
I stuck a camera.
I snuck a camcorder into the screening, and I'm amazed that no one came over and like tried to stop me filming. The film started, and I thought I better put my camera away now. But I got the like Star Wars at the beginning. It's staying Star Wars. When I went to see Star Wars Episode 2, I saw it in Australia, and as the words "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away" came up, someone shouted at the back, "Oh, I've seen this one." Oh, Aussies, don't ever change. So, yeah, like going back to Carney and Trump, do you think it's going to change anything? Or because he was asked about the tariffs. So Trump was asked about the tariffs, and he just went, "No, I'm not going to do it. They're going to stay as they are, and nothing's going to change."
Yeah, nothing's going to happen.
So is that
Like
it?
I think this was an attempt by Carney to try and open some sort of dialogue. Which if you are, leader of the country, that is what ideally you want. You want some sort of open dialogue.
Yeah.
Because just as an aside, we've actually seen that Trump may have abandoned his anti-Kremlin, like pro-Kremlin stance because of like the good diplomatic work, and wait for it, because there's one name you'll be quite surprised about, because of the good diplomatic work of not only Macron, Starmer, and Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
They have been going to town on like Trump, trying to get him to, hey, you shouldn't be leaning towards, Vladimir, you should be you know, you know, you know, come talk to us, talk to Zelensky more. And that's what
That's a
led to
lot
that
of
whole,
knows, I've got to say.
yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
Wink, wink.
always,
Let's just say them all. Say them
good
all.
British diplomatic, go on.
It's been called
So
a reality TV hazing by Simon Marks and LBC. Do you think it was a hazing?
I think it could have very was.
There were moments where Trump didn't seem to understand that there was someone else in the room. It felt like it was just his, like he talked non-stop for about 10 minutes. And then the camera came, it was like a comedy sketch where someone's like yabbering on and then the camera pulls out and you see them actually talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
There's someone else in the room.
This is what Trump does now. And I think he just does this because I think he thinks it looks good to his audience.
Yeah.
So whenever a world leader turns up, there is now, as you now see it, the press conference that we're all familiar with. They're sitting somewhere in the White House. They're both on those two chairs. And, here we are, chatting jolly with each other.
Yeah.
And it's now just becoming a regular occurrence constantly on this. And it's what will happen every single time a world leader turns up. Because it'll be like, today on the Donald Show, I've got I've got the leader of Canada, Mark Carney, with me, and we're going to ask him, why is Canada taking advantage of us?
Yeah, but he did say we just want to be friends, which is a weird turn of phrase. That's like an expression you use when you miss someone and you're not quite into them that much, and you just say, I just want to be friends. That's it. Asperger's Europe, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. Maybe there'll be renewed interest in Kanzuk EU alliance, especially now that Carney and Albanese have been re-elected in Australia and Canada. Yes, they have. So thanks very much for that, I suppose. And I think so. And then we talked about NATO and when NATO is going to go next without America, because that's looking very, very likely. And yeah, Canada's already part of NATO. Why not Australia? Why not New Zealand?
Yeah,
Why not Japan?
It is one of those things. I think definitely we need to be looking more to do something with Canada.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've got the impression, some of the stuff that Carney's been saying, that now our integration with America, that's over now. We're not going to go in that direction. So okay, which direction are you going to go? Are you going to go in the more regulatory direction, which that means you're going to go in a more pro-EU direction? Because one of the big things that has been stopping the Canada-EU trade deal has been disagreements
Yeah.
and talks over regulations.
Yeah.
So there is, I think, possibly right now, over probably maybe the next 2 or 3 years, you might actually finally see some big movement maybe on that deal because it's been stuck. It's been stuck in the works for about a good 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah.
Just sort of really spinning its wheels, unfortunately. But we'll see. But we should be absolutely getting in there as well. You know,
Yeah.
if I was Starmer, I'd be getting over there, talking to Carney about right, what can
Yeah.
what can we do?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, talking of trade deals, we just Starmer has just
Oh yeah,
agreed to a landmark trade deal with Modi, and this is going to add 4.8 billion a year to the
yeah,
economy by 2040. That's
yeah,
0.1%. You know, even with a country the size of India with
yeah,
1.4 billion people, it comes nowhere close
yeah,
getting what we had with the EU. In fact, this is 40 times smaller
yeah.
than what we had with the
Yeah,
EU.
I've said it before. I am not against us doing trade deals. You know, I
No,
am not against the idea of us doing trade deals, but let's do trade deals, that make sense. That,
yeah,
you know, countries that we don't do the most trade with.
yeah,
And now we've just gone into one with India. And I think now, of course, we're gonna have to go and see, shall we say, see what's in the fine print
yeah,
of this deal. But one of the things that has come out is, of course, the fact that um, people from India, when they come and work over here for 3 years, don't have to pay national insurance. I believe it is.
yes. Um,
So they don't have. I think it's
if they're
actually state
seconded,
contributions.
so it's not if they're not staying here essentially. So if they're just here for a couple of years for business, for working, then they don't. Yeah, but I mean
But
that's yeah,
in a bizarre way, that is quite bad for our economy. It's obviously stuff that is not going to go into sort of, paying for NHS stuff. It's
yeah.
not going to pay into other things as well. And long term, I think that's not going to be good. And I would
But
not be
but
surprised. I would
but
not be surprised if you see Nigel Farage having a go at this.
to be fair, why should they pay national insurance contributions towards a pension they will never receive?
Or they would still use, oh, arguably they might use the NHS. They might use um, doctor surgeries.
I don't know if they would have recourse without. I think that their employer would get, because these are people who are seconded. These are not people who have come over to stay. These are not migrants. These are people who are here for like 2 or 3 years, and it's maximum for 3 years. And they stay longer than 3 years. They have to pay their stamp, as they say.
Mm.
I can see there's like some wiggle room there, but you know, you've got to.
Yeah.
One of the things that with the Trump tariffs that's really affected Britain is with Scotch whiskey.
Okay.
So at the moment, Scotch whiskey is over 20% of our entire food and drink export market is Scotch whiskey in terms of value. And America isn't drinking as much now because it's going to be costing them more to buy. But you know the tariff in America is 10%, right? At the moment. The tariff in India on Scotch whiskey was 500%. And what's interesting is when we were part of the European Union were trying to do a deal with India for years and years and years. And one of the countries that held it up was us because Scotch whiskey
Yeah.
and migration rights. The EU wanted to allow a lot more people to come over from India, and Britain was like, no, 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 no. So yeah, it's yeah, and Joanna is saying an Indian temp is charged for NHS care, which I think is right. I'm sorry, I don't think it's right. I think it's a bit shit that that happens. I just mean that's factually correct. Like, so when they are being exempted from national insurance, I kind of think, well, yeah, fair enough. They will be paying tax on their earnings over here still. They'll be paying income tax.
Mm.
So, shoo. Yeah, so Paul says they won't they be paying NHS surcharges with their visas. Yeah, they will. That's the way it works. But yeah, I mean, one thing I've said since the Brexit referendum, even before the Brexit referendum, when people said if we pull away from the EU, we'd be able to trade with other countries around the world. And then I put them on the spot and asked them, who the hell do you want us to trade with? Like, who's going to replace this huge market
Yeah.
of relatively rich people on our doorstep? And they say things like, oh, we'll be able to trade with China and India. And I'm like, they're not going to buy any of our stuff. There's nothing we make
Yeah.
that they want. Do you know what I mean?
India is incredibly self-sufficient.
Yeah, so's
India is
China.
incredibly self-sufficient. Like,
Yeah.
what, like, again, as some people are pointing out, Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
It is one of the most, I would say, in-demand whiskies.
Yeah.
Probably around the world. If
Yes.
everyone goes, oh, have you got a whiskey or is it Scotch?
Yeah.
It's that instant brand name recognition.
Yeah.
It's always in demand. You know, you can pretty much sell it anywhere. But
just to go back to the NI thing, Chris has made a good point here. Actually, Chris, thank you. Super chat as well, even better. Thank you very much. It's the employer's national insurance that will be exempt under the trade deal. So it will incentivize companies to employ Indian workers over other workers. So that's not great.
Gee, that's not going to be a certain use to someone using that, isn't it, against the current government?
But you know, we got a trade deal with one country of 1.4 billion people, which isn't worth that much because a lot of people in India are poor.
Like I say, I'm going to start a timer. I really am. I'm going to start a timer.
On
How
what?
long it takes for Farage to have a pop at this?
Oh, of course.
I really think he's going to go have a pop at this.
Yeah. I think.
And say, if I was prime minister, I would have done a better deal.
Yeah. But
I can see it already.
The thing is, I feel at the moment there is a vacuum that Labour are not filling in a way that when the little toe rag Boris Johnson was in charge, he filled up the airtime. And same way Trump does, he sort of sucks in all the oxygen out the room and dominates it and dominates what we're talking about and all that kind of stuff. Labour just don't do that. All we do is end up, instead of like complaining about what they're doing, we sometimes complain about what they're not doing, like the things that they could be doing that they're not taking advantage of. They've got a 200-seat majority. Fucking use it. Just go nuts. No. I mean, if they don't, they're going to lose the next election, so everything that they do in this parliament's going to be out the window anyway.
Yep.
And the fact that they let a chancellor like Farage run around telling people that, you know, they need to vote for him. Got a document, we got a bloody letter, didn't we, off Farage. I'm gonna rip his face off. This is it's off a flyer that we got of him. But I'm gonna keep the rest of it because I want to
oh yes, because your council's now it's been refucked.
It's like 99%
say.
refuck. Happily, my ward is green. I've got two green councillors here, Jonathan and Priscilla, who are married, which is nice. But yeah, here we go. This is the problem. So nothing works. You struggle to get a GP appointment. Your taxes keep rising. Energy bills are soaring. Britain's immigration system is broken. Okay. Also, I got to do with collecting the rubbish.
Yeah.
I just
he ran a national campaign.
Yeah.
To override local issues.
Under Keir Starmer, another 2 million immigrants are set to arrive by 2030. And they make a big point about energy bills are up 280 quid since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. That might well be true. And that's something that Labour could do something about today.
Yeah.
They're going to say, right, that's it.
Well,
we're pulling out the price, the wholesale price of energy is not going to be set on the highest thing. So it's not going to be gas anymore. It's all going to be everyone for itself. So the customers who are on 100% renewable energy, their prices will crash down to the ground. And the people who are still on the dirty fossil fuel energy, they'll see their prices go up or
well, you say that because obviously Farage has said no more
investment.
wind and solar in your council.
Yes. Ty said this, didn't he, about Lincolnshire?
Yeah.
No investment. They want no investment in
Mm.
wind or solar. And like, where's the Labour lot bringing out the big guns, saying, "Oh, so you want to be dependent on Russia, do you? Oh,
Yeah.
so you want to be dependent on Saudi Arabia, on Qatar? That's
Yeah.
who you want to be dependent on? Yeah, go
That's where they
for
need
it.
to be going in on that. When it
Yeah,
comes to like a foreign policy standpoint, they need to go, yeah, that's what the last lot did. That's why we're in such a bad position as we are in
yeah,
now, because the last lot thought Putin was like, Bezzy mates, as we just
yeah,
found out recently. There were spies in a Russian spies in a Brexit discussion
yeah,
happening in Westminster.
yeah, yeah. No, that's crazy, isn't it?
I
It
mean,
is. Yeah.
luckily, everyone has woken up, but because of that, we're now in this position.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing we could do is try and get nuclear online as fast as possible.
Well,
Because
that takes
because
a
you
long time.
obviously it's all about building stuff.
Yes.
At the end of this conversation, it's all about building stuff and getting stuff built. And it's not just building something that generates power, it's about getting that power to wherever it needs to go.
Oh yeah, that's something
It
that
needs to go into the grid.
Dickhead said. Ty said he didn't want power lines. He didn't want
Oh,
any power lines going through Lincolnshire. Fuck him.
this is
Just
again,
cut
this
him
is so
off.
annoying as
Just cut
well.
him
It's
off
just
and go.
like,
Oh well.
why?
Your man said he didn't want any power lines, so we got rid of the power lines, and then we could put the power lines in other places that actually want electricity. Oh,
They're
fucking
getting
these fucking bloody liberals with their electricity. Oh,
yeah.
I'll show them.
It's just they've got no idea what they're doing. It's going to be a disaster, absolute disaster.
Mm.
But yeah. Anyway, back onto foreign policy, as he says about to.
Yeah. I was going to say Dogger Bank. Dogger Bank's coming online, isn't it?
Yep.
It's the biggest wind farm in the world in Dogger Bank. We've got that. We've got the new Labour policy. They're going to be putting new builds have to have solar panels on. And as the more electric cars that get built, that's more energy storage
Yep.
in people's houses, people's driveways, outside people's driveways, if we put the infrastructure in that we need to put in. But yeah, that needs investment. And for
Yep.
like this major, like refuck of a major party now, and then we've got 5 MPs, but they are a major threat to especially the Tory party. They were more of a threat to the Tory party than Labour, to be honest with you. But still, there was a lot of complacency in that election last week in Runcorn. You had an MP that had to resign in disgrace. You had the Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner, nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, it's
That was
fine." 15,000
I couldn't
majority.
understand why they hadn't done a visit there.
How
I
could we
really couldn't
possibly
understand why they'd done a
lose?
visit there.
It's yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I do think there's ways
Yep.
of
And DSA
yeah,
Airport, Doncaster Sheffield Airport, that could now
yeah,
be in jeopardy
yeah,
because one of the bizarre things that happened that night was Reform won the council, but not the mayoralship. Labour
yeah,
won that.
yeah,
So that was really odd how that happens.
yeah, yeah. That's mad, isn't it? Yeah. Dogger Bank will produce when it's all online. It should produce about 10% of the entire nation's energy.
Yep.
That's mad, isn't it? But yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean about getting some nuclear power in, but I
It
I
is. We need a
it's
transition.
really bloody expensive and it takes ages. And I think by the time we get it built, it'll be cheaper and more effective just to have more wind turbines. Which
Well,
you can build on land
this is
now.
where you need again the transition, and nuclear power is like the best like alternative to anything else because this is why we ended up with so many gas power stations because we were like, oh, uh, Russia's full of gas. We'll just use all the gas from them while we're,
Well,
quote, investing into all this green technology.
we
And
were
then, of course,
never
David Cameron went, "Oh no, we won't. We'll just stop doing that. We'll
we
just
all
rely on
get
the
rid of all that green
gas."
stuff. No, but I mean, to be fair, we weren't completely reliant on Russian gas the same way that Germany was, but
Germany was, yeah.
Germany's got much lower energy bills than us right now because the amount that we pay for our energy is based on the most expensive commodity, and the most expensive commodity that we get energy out of is gas.
Yeah.
We need to uncouple that, and it'll bring people's um, bills down shitloads, and also allow people to know where their energy is coming from. You want to get people on side for net zero? Fucking show them how cheap it is.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I can't stress this enough. The arguments I've had with people who are against electric vehicles because they're petrol heads and whatever, and I just say to them, look, I can't even be arsed arguing with this because it cost me £3 to fill the car with power to send to go to Liverpool from Durham. £3, mate. You can't argue with it. That's it. That's the only argument you need. So
And
if
not
you
only
make
that,
it,
the business case as well. Business case for net zero is insane.
I know.
The only growth industry
Yeah.
in the UK
Yeah.
is green technologies. The only growth industry. I think we were what 5%.
Yeah.
Only growth industry.
Yeah. And it could be massive. It could be absolutely massive. But also the fact that we have so much wind in this country, the fact that we have the tidal forces around this, the swirl around this country, 90%. If it could be harnessed, it'd be 90% of all the harnessable tidal power in Europe, in the entire continent.
I mean, I still don't understand why they killed the estuary for the steel plant. They had an estuary plant where they were going to string a tidal generator, and that tidal generator was going to help power the steel plant in Wales in
Port Talbot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still don't understand why they just.
I thought they couldn't get the power up to what they needed for a blast furnace. They could only have like an electric arc furnace off that.
Yeah, well, that's it. Where you replace it with a electric arc furnace.
Yeah, yeah. Chris C, very good point again. You say that, Graham, but the energy companies are really slow in passing down the savings to the customer. They will milk it for maximum profit. So yeah, so don't let them. Like I say, Labour's got a 200-seat majority at the moment. They can do what the fuck they like. Renationalise the national grid. Why does some consortium from, I don't know, Qatar and China own our national grid? It's madness. Why do these companies give us, different companies give us different electricity? It's all come down the same fucking cables. It's not like there's 5 different electricity cables coming to everyone's house in Britain and you get to choose your provider. It's just it's a bonkers system.
Yep.
Last year, an electricity telegraph pole came down near me. And honestly, mate, it took me about 2 hours to get it reported. In the end, the fire brigade called me back and said, "Oh, tell us where it is again. We'll go and check it out." Because the national number, they were like, "Oh no, you got to ring the local number." So I rang the local number. They're like, "Oh no, you don't talk to us. You talk to the council." So I rang the council, and every time I'm sitting on, there's a fucking electrical cable in the fucking road, and I'm spending 2 hours trying to just call someone because it's all set up for something outside your house. And because it wasn't outside my house, they were like, "Oh, well, we don't deal with it. We're just dealing with stuff outside people's houses." I'm like, fucking nuts. Anyway, we should get back onto the Trump.
India.
Oh, India.
India's probably a perfect place to start there because we've touched on obviously the Indian trade deal.
Yes. India and Pakistan.
We also need to talk about what's going on between India and Pakistan.
And a bit of China. Nothing. Up in old Kashmir. So when
Kashmir's
India
back in this
was partitioned in the 1940s, Kashmir didn't really go one way or the other, and
no, it was almost going to go independent at one point.
Yes. Then India and Pakistan both claimed they had claims over it, which it was. Not great. So
currently Kashmir is split into 2 different areas. You've got the Pakistan controlled area and the Indian controlled area, and this really all kicks off about a couple of weeks ago, where you've had India decide that it was a good idea to give ex-military personnel rights to
Yeah.
go and settle in the Indian controlled area of Kashmir, which has upset a lot of locals.
Yeah.
And there are, again, terrorist groups up in there. And I can't remember the name of this particular terrorist group, but they, who claim the responsibility of this, have basically turned around and gone, we don't like the fact that you're trying to replace us. And Kashmir is being very heavily advertised by the Indian government as a holiday destination. So they attacked a tourist spot, and I believe 23 people were killed in this, all
Yeah.
Indian tourists. Oh no, well, one I think was from Nepal, but obviously it has very, very, shall we say, kicked a hornet's nest in all
Yes.
this. India has basically vowed to respond. The last time this happened, it did end up in the 1999 Kashmir War,
Yeah.
which is what a lot of people are worried about. So we don't know what India's response is going to be from this. We don't know whether it will fizzle out, which is again the hope,
Well, it's the hope,
honestly.
isn't it?
Um, if not, it might be a limited strike. If it is a limited strike, does Pakistan respond? Then
Yeah.
does India respond to that? Does Pakistan respond to that? And then it just escalates from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we have to be worried about. Because last time, the country that sort of stopped this in 1999 was the US.
And they're not exactly going to be interested this time around,
And
are they?
exactly, Donald Trump
Mm.
is not going to be interested in mediating between Pakistan and India. Just
Yeah.
absolutely not. And one of the big worrying points that's been really brought up by this is that India has cancelled the river treaty that they have on the, is it
Mm.
the Indus? I
No.
believe that runs,
Um, it's another river.
yeah,
But yeah, it
big river that
runs
runs up
it
through there.
runs from Pakistan into India, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And they're gonna. It might be the Indus actually. No, I think the Indus is that runs out
yeah.
of what's Kashmir. Um, down into Pakistan. It doesn't go into India. The Indus, I don't think.
I'm
Um,
trying to remember the name of the road, but I can't remember what it is now. But Pakistan really relies on that river for water, drinking water, farm water, for agriculture.
yeah,
India's turned around and said, no, we're going to cancel that deal.
yeah,
And Pakistan's turned around and said, well, if you cancel that water, we're considering it an act of war.
yeah,
So India so far has said that. They haven't done that yet, but that's how Pakistan considers it. And, now you're getting regular dates on Live Map. This could get quite serious,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
And this is a real danger that this is two nuclear powers um, potentially looking at going to war.
yeah,
Now, of course, it's not the first time this has happened, but as we said last time, America was there and sort of, pumped the brakes on it a bit.
yeah. Um, so there's the Chenab River, which is a tributary of the Indus, which Pakistan is saying India has choked the river flow, and also the shared rivers of the system. It is the Indus system, but it's not the Indus River, if you know what I mean. And yeah,
It
it's
might be just
it's
the catch-all term that you use for this.
yeah,
It's just the Indus.
yeah. Um, so it's yeah, and the Telegraph in classic Telegraph, calm and sedate style, calls it the most dangerous river in the world. Why the Indus could spark World War Three.
Yep.
And there's viral posts going around India, going around Pakistan, saying that India triggered a flood by withholding and then releasing large amounts of large amounts of water on the Chenab River. Yeah, it's there is a 1960s Indus Waters Treaty, and that's what's claimed to
Yeah,
have been.
and the thing is that has survived 2 wars.
Yeah,
So for India just to suddenly turn around and just go, we're not following that treaty is quite concerning.
yeah,
So this, we've got to hope, doesn't escalate, shall
yeah.
we say. However, we've now got to consider a third player in all of this, because guess what? China might be involved in this as well.
Well, China's been involved in Kashmir for ages because they
Yeah,
they
because
invaded, didn't they,
they've
back in the day?
controlled some area of like northern,
Yeah,
northern
I
sort of
don't think anyone
Kashmir.
lives there. I think it's just up in some mountains.
Yeah, it
They
is
just come along and they
mountains.
put a fucking flag there, and then
Yep.
someone else comes along and takes their flag away and puts their flag. It's ridiculous. But yeah, there might be minerals and then their mountains. I don't know. But yeah, well, I think the 1940s it was that, like, Kashmir is majority Muslim, but Jammu, which is part of it, is like 66% Hindu. Um, but it was ruled over by a Maharaja who wasn't Muslim, and so when partition happened, they didn't quite decide whether to go one way or another. And then I think some Pakistani forces turned up like on the day of petition and said, right, this is it, this is ours now. And then the Maharaja at the time said to India, oh, can you help us out with this? And so they
Yeah.
came over the border, and it's been a shit fight ever since. And I think you're right. Like, talking to people from Kashmir who live around India, like, I think most of them want independence, to be honest with you. I think they wish the Pakistanis and the Chinese and the Indians would fuck
Yeah.
off and just leave them to have their own country up in the mountains. I mean, it'll be an impoverished country, but if that's what they want, the fact that the whole thing of self-determinism has been taken away from them, I think is
Yeah,
appalling.
it's land. It's land. They want it. And unfortunately, at
I,
the moment, India is very, very much run by Modi, who is very, very
yes.
nationalistic.
Well, so does the Pakistani government as well. So's the Chinese government. I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah, look,
Modi is
that's the
really
impression that I
nationalistic.
get, and the plural of anecdotes isn't data, but we've never tried it. There's never been a proper referendum in Kashmir to decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
So,
But like I say, I don't think any India probably won't allow it. Pakistan won't allow it.
yeah,
And of course, depending on the result, neither of the countries will probably accept it,
yeah,
the outcome of that referendum. So it is very, very difficult in a situation. And it's something we're gonna I have to keep an eye on, because if this escalates, um, it could get worrying quite quickly. There's a chance that, you know, China maybe gets involved in some way, shape, or form. Which side they take, who knows? Maybe
yeah,
they just become a third player in this. Maybe they side with Pakistan because they're not siding with India. Because
yeah.
oh boy, is there beef between India and China over different territories. Um, but yeah, it's very worrying on that front.
Um,
Very
the,
worrying indeed.
we had elections last week, so we had obviously the elections in Canada. We had the local elections, mayoral elections, and the by-election in the UK. We had elections in Australia. So good results in Canada, good results in Australia. There was also an election in Singapore. And you'd be glad to know that the PAP Party, the People's Action Party, they won. Resounding win again. And they won all but 10 seats. Bless them.
Is this on like a 99.9% voter turnout of like everyone miraculously managed to vote for them, perchance?
They've been in charge for 65 years.
It's one of those elections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, job creation, but don't chew gum. They're very, very, very strict in Singapore, quite famously so that if you dare smuggle drugs into Singapore, you can be put to death, and they don't really care if you're from a country that doesn't go in for that kind of thing. You'll still be in a lot of trouble. This is the year of elections, isn't it? There's loads of
Yeah.
elections this year all over the world. The other electoral foible that happened this week was the guy who would be king, Kaiser. No, the guy who would be Kaiser. No, the guy who would be Chancellor of Germany fell short by 18 votes to become the next Chancellor. And then it had to all go back to they're having last minute discussions because in the elections earlier in the year when the AfD didn't do as well as everyone thought they were going to do, thank God, the ruling party didn't win an outright majority and had to go into a coalition. So they've been in talks for the last couple of months with these smaller parties to get them on side to create a coalition government. And yeah, sorry, 18 votes short. So now they're scrambling, and they don't know what. This never happened before.
Yeah.
So they're scrambling now to try and sort something out, so that they can actually do it. I mean, yeah, he's 3 hours ago. Oh, hang on, no, just got an update. Sorry, everyone in the chat. Yeah, Merz has become Chancellor. He's had after surviving historic vote failure. So this was reported this morning. I missed this one. Conservative leader Friedrich Merz has won a parliamentary vote to become Germany's next Chancellor at the second attempt. Do you remember when they were trying to get like the Speaker of the House in and it was like 19 rounds or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
A bit like that. Yeah. So it's a 630 seat Bundestag, and he finally won it with a majority of 9. So it's not that big a majority, and obviously they've got to rely on other.
But like I say, German politics are vastly different to ours. So it's like, they're used to, making compromises and, working with other parties.
Yeah.
Our political system, not so much.
Yeah. Can we talk about flags for a moment?
Oh, I thought you might want to talk about the other interesting thing I've literally just seen.
Oh, go on.
Did you know that you're no longer going to be able to touch the statue of Molly Malone?
Oh, okay, fair enough. Because everyone touches her boobs.
Yeah,
I've got a plan for you, mate. If you don't want people to touch the boobs of your statue, don't give your statue big comedy boobs like she's at fucking hello or Carry On or something. I mean,
and don't spread the legend that gives you good luck if you touch them.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, right, like I do find it ridiculous that we seem to have more protections for statues than actual people, but the license it gives people, like, okay, this is a joke. Oh, it's fine. We can just do this.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why, but it's maybe it's time you put it on a plinth so that people can't touch them.
Yeah, can't touch this.
Just an idea.
Yeah. So, no, I was going to talk about flags because Farage and his mates have said that in Durham we can fly no flags apart from the King, what's it called, the St. George's flag and the Union flag. They're the only flags we're allowed to fly. And
so you can't even fly your county flag then?
Said, can we not fly the county flag? And they went,
no, that's fine.
Yeah, we can do that. It's just, and they're trying to, basically, they just don't want to fly the pride flag because it's woke. So they're trying to say, oh no, it's all flags. No, okay, but we'll have to be able to. And when they have the miners' gala, then they put up all the flags for the different mining unions back in the day.
Oh, Farage won't be in favour of that. Oh no,
no. And also military flags as well. But also, if we've got a delegation coming from Ukraine, it's nice to put Ukrainian flags up.
Ukrainian flag out, yeah.
One of the refugees I brought from Ukraine a couple of years ago to the UK, we were driving through Cheshire, and she was so touched by the fact that we were driving through these little villages and they had Ukrainian flags out that she started to cry.
Yeah, I mean, in Barnsley, we've had a Ukrainian flag from top of our town hall since it all kicked off in 2022.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really proud that we've got that.
Yeah.
Because it does show that we aren't going to forget. and that we are, going to continue that support.
Yeah.
And it might seem, somewhat insignificant, but in some ways, sometimes it can matter.
Yeah.
In quite big ways, symbols and all that, Hence why I always have my Yorkshire pride on display.
No, I think you're right, and they're just not ready for this job. I mean, like the new councillors that we've got in Durham, 90% of them have never been a councillor before. They don't know what they're
Yeah.
doing. They're gonna have to
Oh,
have the training. It's gonna be a fucking nightmare. But I'm gonna keep an eye on them. Don't you worry.
yeah,
I've been speaking to people already about getting minutes from all the council
yeah.
meetings, making sure who's there and who isn't, and
So
it's
what
10
I
grand.
what
They
I
get
would
10
love
grand a
to
year.
do what I would love to do is get one of these counselors who is either A, still on the council with these lunatics, or someone who lost the job, because I
Yeah,
would love to give them a platform and go, okay, um, first of all, A, what is a counselor's job? What do you actually do? What does it all entail? And then ask them, so before you went into the election, what was going on in your local council?
yeah,
What were you discussing? How what was all this stuff, going on in your local council doing? And then ask them to describe what on earth these UKIP reform guys are going to do,
yeah,
because they're going to be an absolute disaster.
yeah,
Honestly, an absolute disaster on an epic scale.
yeah.
And I will gladly platform any local councillor who wants to come and say, yeah, reform are doing this. It's turning into an absolute disaster.
I'm actually having a meeting this week with representatives of my three three favorite progressive parties to actually talk about doing exactly that, Ollie.
Yeah.
Because I really want to shine a light on it. I don't want to be hidden away in the private eye in rotten boroughs. I want to be making sure that
Yeah.
people know what's happening here in
Yeah.
Durham.
And
And I'm going
if
to make
you
their
are
lives a fucking misery, mate, because I
Yeah, and
fucking
if
hate
you are
them.
one of those people that now has a reform council, start going to your town hall.
Yeah, I'm
Honestly,
going to.
just by you turning up, you will probably
Yeah,
improve attendance by like 100%.
yeah, yeah.
I,
No,
I kid you not. Do go.
yeah,
Start buying your
yeah,
local paper if you still got one, because that's where all that news about your local council will be reported.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm so
Private
lucky that
eye
my
is
councillors
good.
are green. Although, to be honest with you, I can't. If I did have a refut councillor, I could hassle them all the time about daft shit, like
Yeah,
every single day, just write to them about daft shit. But I can't because my councillors are actually Greens. So yeah, it's the rest of them that I'm going to have to go out after. But this is a weird feeling for me, Ollie. I've never lived in anywhere in the UK that's not had Labour or Lib Dem in charge.
scary feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I've really sort of been on is, austerity. Councils bore the brunt of austerity. All these councils are absolutely cash strapped, and one of their
Mhm.
big things or reform seems to be spouting on about is, oh, you don't understand, like secretly under the desk of Mr. Mayor, there's this massive treasure chest of all this treasure that they haven't been spending that you can now spend to improve your local area. It doesn't exist. It's a
Yeah.
fantasy. But
Yeah.
that's what they want to do. They want to send in outside auditors,
Yeah.
which, how much is that going to cost of local taxpayer money to do that?
Just before we wrap up in a few minutes, and we have our raid on Maximilian. So if you keep watching, we'll shunt you over onto Maximilian's feed so you can tell him it's a raid. It's a politics social raid. So here's a term that I'd never heard of until last week. De minimis. Have you heard about this?
No.
So this is a term that refers to goods worth less than $800 coming into America. Basically, it's like the bare minimum, whatever, and they never get tariffed because it's just not worth it. It's not worth tariffing.
Mm.
Tariffing, putting a tariff on something that's worth less than 800 quid, because the amount that you have to spend in paperwork, it's just, what's the point?
Just excessive, yeah.
And yeah, Trump's ending the de minimis
Mm.
tariff loophole, which
Oh,
means
wow.
that Chinese products coming, across that are, not bought in a shop, they're brought back direct by the consumer.
Mm.
They're all going to get hit by these tariffs.
That's going to be a disaster. That's going to be. Oh,
Yes.
the other thing is tariffed as well. Foreign films.
Yes.
But what
Which
is classed as a foreign film?
I have no idea. So
So,
most big Hollywood blockbusters, even if they're filmed in the UK, they're produced by Americans. Like
yep.
it's American money going
Does that
into
count
it.
as a foreign film? What if, again, Marvel film, classic example.
Yeah.
If the special effects work done, most of it in the UK, does that count as a foreign film?
Yeah.
What
Joanna's
about Lord of the
surprised that I've
Rings?
never heard of Deminimus. Why would I have heard of that? It's not in my purview. I don't know. I'm not a what are they called? People who secure tariffs and things on stuff coming in. I'm not a goods forwarder. I might have been in a previous life, but
You never know.
never know. I'm not a
This is where you
customs
find
official.
your calling.
I know.
Hark! It was the diminutive tariffs all along.
I think I've broken Joanna's heart. She thought that I knew everything. I don't. I really don't. I really don't. But at least I admit when I fuck up. But yeah, the movie thing is crazy because there's no way doing it. And traditionally, tariffs have always been on goods.
Yeah. And
not services. Now he's opening a Pandora's box here, or like a massive fucking Pandora's box full of worms. Because if he starts tariffing movies as a service, where do you draw the line?
Yeah,
like Netflix. So if Netflix make a movie, they make The Crown TV show. Does that get caught? Does that get counted?
That exactly? Is that a foreign film?
Is it a foreign film? No, it's a TV show.
And what counts as a film?
Do you know why this
is an interesting question.
Yeah.
What actually counts as a film itself?
Yeah, exactly. So but the question is, like, what made him think of this? And I think that it's because he's still angry that the movie Parasite won the Best Picture Oscar in like 2019. And he was really upset about it.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
The one time in 90 years, or 95 years now. No, God, 98 years. The Oscars started in 1927, was it? With Wings and Sunrise.
I think
Great
so,
films, by the way. Sunrise is brilliant. It's about this guy takes his wife out onto the lake, right? And he's going to murder her because he's bored of her, right? So, but then they see the lights of a fun fair on the other side of the bank, and on the other side of the lake, and he's like, "Oh, let's go. I'll give you one nice night out before I kill you." And then so they go and they have a really nice time at the fun fair. So he decides not to kill her. That was a movie that won the Oscar. Imagine pitching that now.
Yeah, somebody brings up a good point as well. Velocity 11, tariffs on YouTube.
Yeah,
just because again, what counts as a film?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost as though he hasn't thought this through. Yeah. Well, it's a bit like Alcatraz. Like, let's bring back Alcatraz.
Yeah, that's the other
It's like saying, bring back the Tower of London as a prison. And it's like, that would be hard enough. At least you could get plumbing and electricity to it. Alcatraz is on a fucking island. There's no plumbing. There's no plumbing, Ollie. Like, the toilets don't go anywhere.
Like, just converting Alcatraz itself would be an insane amount of investment just to turn it back into a prison.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah, these are the mad decrees of someone not all there.
Yeah.
But this is going to actually hurt the UK film industry.
Yeah.
Quite significantly, because this is one of the things we are actually good at, creative industries. And one of the big success stories of my town is a company called Pit Stop Productions.
You, my friend, you are the big success story of your town.
Let it be known. Not even close. Especially when Brian Blessed comes from Barnsley,
Does he?
Yes.
Is there anyone in this room who has not slept with my wife?
And Michael Parkinson as well.
That's also my Parkinson.
I'm not nowhere near to that on that level. But Pit Stop Productions, again, incredible local success story.
Yeah.
They do sound recording and music mixing for big Hollywood films, and they're a multi-billion-pound company in Barnsley.
Yeah.
Not many people know they're there, but they are there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like making movies is an international effort. What if you have a 2-minute bit in your film where you're in a different country and you filmed it in another country? Because that's where the fucking scene takes place.
Exactly. And if let's say they hire Pit Stop Productions, does that make it then count as a foreign film because you went to a foreign company to get something done for your film? At what point does a film become a foreign film?
We're gonna have to wrap up now and let Max take over. So if you want to keep watching, we will shunt you over there automatically. Futum Shuk tells us that deminimus isn't an economic term, but a general Latin expression which means too small to be considered important. So do you know what? The term itself was too small for me to consider it important. But I could probably guess what it meant, from the minimal. Anyway, but yeah, if Sean Bean dies, it's a film, says Ian McKenna. Well, I don't want to say any spoilers here, but Game of Thrones, not a film. Anyway, arguably, Gordon's alive, says Harry Flashman. Obviously. What about feature films or feature-length films? They aren't full-length. I don't know. I honestly don't.
What counts? We don't know.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. All right. Well, listen, I hope we kept you entertained for the last hour. Me and Ollie. Thank you very much, Ollie, for coming on the show. And hopefully we'll see you on Friday. Friday Night Social, maybe? Friday Night Social. And Joanna saying, just give up on that word. Okay. Is it pronounced differently? I don't know. I'm not a big Latin speaker. It's not, it's a Scouse thing, I think. Don't speak Latin much in Scouse. But anyway, QED, Quad Demontradum, as we say in Liverpool a lot. It's time for us to go. So if you keep watching, you'll be shunted over to Max's stream. And so I just left to say thank you so much for watching. Give us a like on the way out. I'll be back in the morning, 9 o'clock for Morning Brew. And until next time, I'll say thanks for the chat. Thanks for the super chats. And hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.